I don't know.
Okay.
I saw you in a hole once. Pretty good.
Thank you.
I've seen him in the hole a lot of times. Okay, 1 minute.
How do you join with video? Oh, start video.
Somebody out there, Paul.
Hello. What's going on, guys?
We're here.
Speaker.
All these plexiglass.
I'm muted. Council Novoselsky, we're ready for you.
We're ready. It's 4 o'clock. Excellent. Well, welcome everybody to the Revere City Council Subcommittee on Public Works. And we're going to have 3 items on our agenda today. First is National Grid. And we're going to have a Superintendent of Public Works, Paul Agenzio, talk about the LED streetlights. And then we have our water expert, water and sewer expert, Donnie Chermella, to talk about Hastings Street. So first of all, is there anybody on from National Grid to talk about our order number 20-102?
Councilor Novoselsky, there's a Bruce Kupelnick. I'm not sure if he's here to speak.
No, he lives in my neighborhood. He's a neighborhood guy.
Okay.
No, but
National Grid has been informed. I've had several correspondence with Vinny Logodis from National Grid regarding this meeting.
Okay, basically it's a joint petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to install 2 jointly owned poles for reliability purposes on Salem Street, beginning at a point approximately 20 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Overlook Ridge Drive and Salem Street, and continuing approximately 128 feet in a westerly direction. Councilor Serino, you on?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Nice to see you.
Same here, sir. You have any comments on these polls?
I do, actually, and I would have liked to talk to National Grid because pole 3960, which is right next to where they want to add this pole, or these 2 poles, rather, 3960 on Salem Street is a double pole as it stands, and I requested that before they move forward with these 2 new poles that they remove that double pole and make a commitment to removing some of the other double poles that are along Salem Street and Lynn Street from Linden Square to the town of Saugus. So until we get confirmation that that double pole 3960 is coming down, I would be hesitant to grant them these 2 new ones.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other councilors want to comment on this? Okay, hearing none. I just want to say is, I don't disagree with you, Councilor, and I just have a beef with National Grid. It's just, they treat us like secondhand citizens in the city of Revere, and they're asking us to do them a favor, and I can't see jumping through hoops for them. And there's so many different things that they haven't done, and I know. I'm going to be talking, Paul Agenzio, like I said, about the lights, and that's another issue I have. And I understand, well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So I would think with committee members that are present, any objections to tabling this issue? Okay, so hearing no negatives, I would say this is tabled until the next meeting. If actually we can set something up for August, for another Public Works meeting to bring this and maybe a few other things up. Please.
Councilor Novoselsky, sure. There is already a zoning subcommittee scheduled at 5:30 on 8/24.
We'll do it 4:45. Shouldn't take that long.
It's at 5:30, so I don't know if you wanted to make it like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, 5's good. Okay. It shouldn't take more than a half hour to take care of this. And I know they have some other things on the agenda for tonight that we want to put on.
Okay.
committee also. So the next thing is Paul Argenzio with our update of the LED streetlights throughout the city. I know they're probably maybe 98% complete from down in my neighborhood either, and there's a few others, and we're looking for changes. So what's your play on this, Paul?
Sure. I spoke to Dan Cameron several times over the last couple of weeks. They hired a subcontractor to do most of their LED conversion. The subcontractor has now finished their project. They replaced 3,501 sodium vapor lights with LED. So the contract is done. They have a few stray ones out there that National Grid will continue and finish. The life expectancy of the new LED lights is 15 years. Dan Cameron did explain that when you put in a number of LED lights of this magnitude, some do fail immediately. So there's a few out there that have already failed. He said that's to be expected. They end up, they'll be going around to fix those shortly. I know everyone is concerned about the complaints that came in, some too dim, some too bright. It was agreed that we would wait until the subcontractor was done, and then we would address these concerns. So Dan said around August 1st, the National Grid crews will go out and address these concerns if valid. I have 311 compiling a list of everything that has come through their system as far as complaints. And I know some councilors have emailed Dan Cameron directly. So if you have emailed Dan Cameron directly without letting 311 know, if you could either go through 311 or email me so that we could have a comprehensive list ready for them next week, and they will go out and start addressing these concerns. Now, they hope to take it on a case-by-case basis. Sometimes in a neighborhood, you could have a disagreement. One person could think it's too bright, and the person across the street, thinks it's a great thing. So, and if the city council and 311, we're going to try to prioritize them as far as which complaints are coming in, and they have committed to addressing those. He did say that they did a survey and that we're expected to see about $140,000 a year savings in our electric bill for the streetlights. Those savings haven't kicked in yet because they have to input all the work orders into the system. So comparing this June's bill with June from 2019 isn't going to show much. But once these all get in the system, we will be credited retroactively from when they were first installed. And we should have a good project. Have any questions?
Paul.
Mm-hmm. Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, can I speak, please? Joanne McKenna.
Go ahead, Joanne.
Thank you. Some of like our main roads, like Winthrop Ave, Crescent Ave, Mill Street, some dangerous streets are very low lighted. So should I put the poles, all the poles that have one bulb, 25 wattage, in 311?
Any concern or complaint that you have should go through 311 so we can have one master list that we submit to National Grid, and we can follow and follow that progress.
Thank you.
Paul, I know I've talked to you about this before, and when we first started the project, we were talking about kind of eliminating the 25s and going to 48s. And I thought that was agreed to by National Grid with Dan back, several months ago. Mm-hmm. And now he tells me that they don't plan on going back and doing anything because it's going to cost them money to do it.
I think the idea was to get this program in place and get people used to it. A lot of the savings that we're going to see is because we have a slightly lower wattage. So just arbitrarily going from 25s up to the next wattage is going to severely cut into the savings that we expected. A lot of people on my street, for instance, are satisfied with the 25-watt bulbs. I think we should probably kind of go with it. And if there's a specific complaint, we can address it. But the idea of this whole thing was to save the city a considerable amount of money. So just arbitrarily changing every light fixture and going up wattage is going to, kind of do away with a lot of our savings.
Well, some of the items will be going down because they put 210s in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. People are complaining consistently on it.
There's a few of those, and how that happened was over the years, either residents or the city council, something went on in the neighborhood and they requested a higher watt fixture. So comparing a 400 sodium vapor to the highest LED, the subcontractor went in, and if there was a higher wattage bulb on the street, they replaced it with a higher wattage bulb. But the highest wattage LED throws considerable more light than the sodium vapor. So that's how that occurred. Over the years, it was requested to National Grid, let's put a brighter light. There was a break-in or something. And so that's how the subcontractor put the higher wattage bulbs in.
Yeah, and with all due respect, I know that's not really true because we asked for higher wattages on Walnut Ave by the Hyman Towers, 50 Walnut. Yep. Mm-hmm. They still put in 25s. So, that.
When was this request? Was that at the start of this program?
No, 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
We had higher wattage on that street because one of the residents got attacked.
Okay.
Between Shirley Ave and Beach Street, put 250s.
Okay.
And also in a couple of lights on Beach Street near the intersection of Walnut Ave, because that's where people were walking and that's where the incidents happened. I don't feel comfortable with the people that put these lights together. And I know there's a transfer of some money for tonight for leaving National Grid $137,000. And maybe for this, and honestly, I'm not going to vote for that because I don't think they finished the job. Like you said, there's lights that are not done.
I'm not sure what the transfer is tonight. It might have been a shortfall in last fiscal year, but this program isn't costing us anything. There's no cost to this program. We're going to see a yearly savings, and within a couple of months, we're going to see a one-time credit to us, probably about $150,000 for going to the lower. So the transfer tonight certainly isn't a payment for this program.
Okay. Now the list that I gave you before do you have that?
If you gave it to me personally, I have that. But just make sure 311 has it because they're in the process of creating a spreadsheet.
Should I do individual lamps?
If you could do an individual and have the poll number. I know it's kind of a pain, but that's how they respond a little bit.
Okay. Well, they'll be getting about 20 of them. Mm-hmm. So be prepared.
Okay.
Any other councilors have any comments or issues that they want to bring up about the lights? Any other ward councilors at large?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank you and thank Paul for the update. I've gotten a lot of calls and emails about the changing of the wattages, so I'm glad to hear that by early August in the next few weeks, that'll start happening. So thank you for the update, Paul.
Okay, so that's what National Grid conveyed to me today. So I'm going on their word of what Dan Cameron told me today.
Okay. Any other councilors? Okay, hearing none, I think we can close this section. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You'll be hearing from me again, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And the last item is Donnie Charmella. Bring up Hastings Street, give us a briefing on that, and see where we stand on that. I'm sure Council Guanasso wants to hear what's going on. Donnie, can you hear me? I lose him? He was there. Ashley, did you show him? I don't know if we lost him or not. I don't see him.
I just promoted him, Councilor Novoselsky. Should be
Oh.
appearing shortly. There he is.
There you go, Donald. Donnie Charmella, are you there? Donnie,
Yeah, I'm trying. I had my
okay.
set up, but I lost my Wi-Fi down in the cellar down here. I'm in the cellar.
Oh,
So,
sound like Zambuto.
so anyway, so I just wanted to kind of brief everyone on the Hastings Street drainage issues that have been going on for quite a while. So Councilor Granasso came to me a couple of years ago and asked me what I can do about the drainage issues down there. I just want to make everybody aware that the drainage issues have been happening for quite some time. I don't know if anybody realized how long it's been, but it's been about 1978. So in 1956, the Jacobs family donated the land to the city of Revere. And when I review historical aerial photographs of that area, I see that there was a ditch back there, an open ditch. And so that we had 7 outfalls that went down each and every one of those streets that went into this open ditch. The streets were Temple, Bates, Elmwood, Thorndike, Fairfield, Boson, and Martin Street. And what happened was in 1978, it looks like somebody filled in that donated land to make a park. So in actuality, what happened was they covered over all the outfalls. This has been a hot button issue. I supplied some photographs of what happens down there. The catch basins just overflow because there's just soils covering all the outfall pipes. And so it sheet flows down the street, down the hill, across Hastings Street, and out to the marsh that way. That's how it finds its way now. So, but I didn't have really the tools in the last 2 years to address this problem. Number one, it's in the ACEC area now. So we just can't go out there and start digging and, excavating and trying to look for these outfalls, these 7 missing outfalls. So CDM Smith had proposed as part of the SRF program and the I&I issues in that area to reconstruct the drainage down there. But I want everybody to understand that the cost of this reconstructing of the drainage down there comes at a hefty cost, $2.9 to $3.6 million. And we can do it. We can certainly do it. I hadn't had it in my capital plan. I had this, my capital plan that I had submitted to the auditor's office. This work wasn't slated until 2024 because I just didn't think that we had the facility to do it. But so this is quite a big project, quite a big undertaking, and there's a lot of permitting that's involved down there because there's 7 outfalls that are non-existent, so we have to recreate them in an ACEC area. So just to give you a scope of the project, we just did one new outfall, Webster Street, Paper Street up in off of Pearl Ave, and that project is about $650,000 to get one new outfall in the ACEC area. So, to give you a scope of work, now we need to do this 7 times down in Hastings. We have to do this. We have to replicate this 7 individual times for each individual street. So now we do the tools that we had were that the 20-year-old Vacta that literally couldn't suck up a bag of ping pong balls. Now it's really kind of gone. But we did order, and the council was nice enough to approve funding for a $550,000 new Vacta machine, and we had ordered it last year, and it's slated to be delivered on September 10th of this year. So when I do get this machine, what we'll do is the crew will go down there and they'll start jetting those 8-inch lines going down into the marsh, and we're going to see, and we're going to try to pull out as much material as we can in those lines, and we're going to see if we can do this on our own and see if we can reinstate all 7 of them all on our own. Now they'll only be 8-inch. The 3.6 million was to increase the size of them from an 8-inch to a 12-inch ductile, and also have a storm scepter, a permanent outfall. That was what the 3.6 million entailed. But when we get our new $500,000 machine, the crew will be down there trying to reinstate 7 8-inch clay ductile lines going out to the marsh. That's what they'll be doing, and see if we can't save the city, $3.5 million. But remains to be seen. Maybe we can do it.
What kind of time frame are we talking?
Well, once we get the machine, we have a lot of catch up to do. We have 4,500 catch basins in the city that we've got to clean on our own. We cut our budget. We cut our budget for catch basin cleaning with National Water. We had a $500,000 budget for this fiscal year 2021. We cut it to $200,000. So we only have $200,000 for emergency services with National Water. So when we get this machine, we have 4,500 catch basins to clean. Not all of them, because I'm just saying we need a lot of maintenance to do with our catch basins and our drain mains. But those guys will be out there probably in the fall, taking each individual street, trying to reinstate those 8-inch clay lines, and so we're going to see what we can do with them. We're going to see how far we can get out into that park. Well, that's what's going to happen. We're going to send the nozzle down that 8-inch ductile clay line, and all of a sudden we're going to see water spouting out in the middle of Hastings Park. Hastings Park, like a whale spouting water. That's what's going to happen. But we'll probably identify the outfall to being in the very close edge of Hastings Park, or the very furthest edge of Hastings Park, someplace in between. We don't really know where they are, but we'll take one at a time. But if we do find it, now we have to try to get a permanent outfall out into the marsh, because the end of the outfall is going to be in the middle of the park, or at the very close edge to the park where the street stops. So then we have to try to get a pipe out to the marsh where the water will discharge out of these catch basins. So, I mean, the project has existed, has kind of whenever that land was. Now the aerial pictures that I see, and then I submitted to the city clerk in 1971. It was an open ditch, and in 1978, the ditch is magically gone. So, and covered under soils. So a park now existed. So that's kind of what happened. So the problems existed for quite some time, at least the 80s.
Understood. Is Councilor Guanasso here?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, you're on.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank Donnie for appearing before the subcommittee, and I also want to thank him personally for coming to the many meetings we've had and conducted at that site. I was aware of when the park was converted over by the Hastings family to the city of Revere, and I was unaware that any damage was occurring to the water lines in terms of this recovery. I'm also pleased to see that maybe we can do this in-house and save the city a lot of money. But I also want to emphasize that, as Donnie so aptly said, there's 6 or 7 streets or 8 streets are affected by this, and it's now a major usage spot for the area residents to circumvent Revere Street, whereas we're tied up with traffic more often than not. So I look forward to this being done as soon as possible. I understand there's a lot of money involved here, but there's been money expended elsewhere, and I graciously always vote for those areas because it's a betterment to the community. Now it's Ward 3's time to share in some of these monies and get some of our relief that we need. And we don't go to the well too often to ask for this type of activity, so I would expect to see this sooner than later. I also want to thank Donnie for coming down to my home a couple of weeks ago, whereas we stopped again a process that was supposed to be overseen by an agency that we pay a lot of money to, and they weren't doing their job. So I had to step in and make a frantic call to Donnie Chiaramella to have him stop the dumping that was occurring in back of Pierce Street. And they were filling this property with all debris. It was supposed to be just pipes and what have you, but they were dumping dirt also. So I was concerned about that, and I'm thankful that that he came down and he stopped it immediately, and we got recognition. Now I want to see that dirt removed, because it not only created a rodent problem in that area, but also created a heavily congested mosquito infestation. And we are certainly experiencing enough of that on our own because we get, most of our properties are adjacent to the marshland. So when we can get this bit of relief, we welcome it. And I thank Donnie publicly for him responding to me when we needed to come down and do some relief for some of the neighbors. And I appreciate what he's doing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Outstanding. Donnie, any comments?
Yes, Councilor Grasso, I'd like to say, so on December 10th, September 10th, our new Vactor, our Gap Vax, over $500,000 machine is going to be delivered. And when this is delivered, I will have the tools. We will have the tools to be able to jet each individual lines going down each individual street. Starting with Martin Street, and try to daylight the outfall. So I know there have been efforts in the past, but I don't think the guys had the proper tools. This machine, this $550,000 Gap Vax machine is made for doing this. It's vacuum excavation. It's actually removing heavy soils. So I believe we can make some headway. The only thing is, I don't know, once we find the end of these outfalls that are buried under the soils, I don't know what exactly I'm going to do with them, how I can extend them out to the marsh. So I can probably start permitting process. The permitting process, I estimated at about $50,000. That would be in-house money. It can't be SRF funded money. Neither can any design work that I was to do. But if we were to go further with a design project to reinstate all those outfalls with an engineering company, which my estimate is $2.9 to $3.6 million. But if we can do it in-house, little by little, and just call it maintenance, I just can't be caught digging out in that ACEC area to extend any drainage lines. But look, I think when our machine comes, we have a little bit of catch-up to do, a little bit of maintenance catch-up to do with our catch basins. And once that's done, we can take each individual street one at a time, and we can start making some headway into those drain mains that have been, covered with material since probably the, either the late 70s or the early 80s. But, we can revisit it at some other time and just to see what progress we've made by the end of the year.
Thank you, Donald. You're doing a great job. I can't give you any more kudos than everybody's already been giving you, because I know you're all over the city doing all these little projects that some turn into larger projects.
Well, you don't see me, you see the guys. The guys.
Well, we see you too. Don't make it any less. The guys are out there. I know that. Joe's out there, and all the guys in water, and Everything you guys are doing is
Highway
really
crew, sanitation.
turned the city, you've turned DPW around
No.
480 degrees.
Thank you.
And they're doing it. Everybody's doing a great job, great response to everything, the small things, the big things. And, I appreciate it. I know Councilor Guanasso appreciates it. And the other councilors appreciate it also up in Ward 6 on Asti Ave, and you're working up there. And, it's just amazing what you're doing and what you're actually digging out.
Yeah.
So
DPW
it's really appreciated.
The DPW had the ability. Now we have the tools and the manpower. So.
Well, we've always said, they're one of the most important departments. I said one of the most, not the only, but one of the most important departments in the city. And they're earning it now, and because they have the right equipment to work with.
Yeah.
We always support them in getting the right equipment.
Joe Lake says it the best. He goes, "There's nothing like somebody looking out their front window, looking and seeing the DPW, the water and sewer department doing some maintenance work, testing a hydrant, painting a hydrant. A simple thing like painting a hydrant red means a lot to some of these people. Just to see the people, just to see the guys work. So, and the guys know it, and they're proud of it too."
Excellent.
Excuse me, Ira.
So with that,
I have a question.
Go ahead, John.
Donnie.
Yes.
I just have a question, unrelated to what you were speaking about. The down on Arcadia Street, the Eastern County ditch, are we holding water in that for a particular reason? I got a call from a resident the other day, and I went down there, and it was right up to the top. And,
Nope.
And I'm
we're not holding any water. The water is coming and going as it should. It's flushing every day, twice a day, in high and low tide cycles.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, now we're getting salt water all the way up the ditch, all the way up to Wonderland parking lot. And we won't be having Phragmites growing in that ditch anytime soon now.
No, so that tide gate is kept open for now?
Kept open, kept wide open, dialed open. We're getting the fresh water. Matter of fact, we're getting marine life up there.
And that's to kill the Phragmites, am I correct?
Yeah, so you're not going to kill the Phragmites on the banks. So right now, I mean, ideally, if we could dial a gate up a little bit, up another half a foot, you'll kill over the course of 2 or 3 years. After the Phragmites are immersed in salt for 2 to 3, it takes 2 to 3 years to fully kill the root system. You would kill a little bit more, but ideally you're not. I am in the process of contacting a Massachusetts state agency about permitting. We tried the goats. The goats are a good, source of keeping the Phragmite down. A little controversial, but there's also a herbicide that we can spray. Now, when I say herbicide, it's the last thing I wanted to do. But when I find out about it, when I do a little research about the herbicide, all it is a salt acid. It's a natural element, and it's applied by you have to get permits, and it's applied by licensed people, and it's not a chemical like Roundup. It's a salt acid. It's basically a very heavy dose of salt, and they do that right after mowing, and I'd like to eradicate the salt, the Phragmites in that area. If you've noticed on the south side of near back of Doc Keegan's, a lot of that Phragmite stopped growing because of the restorations to the salt marsh. So our plan is further down the road is to acquire that land in the back on the northbound side, acquire it from the private owners, hopefully, so that the city can take ownership of it and get the grants to restore it. In other words, dig down, because that was all filled in land too over the years. At the end of Bay Road was all filled in. At the end of Arcadia was all filled in land. I mean, it was an open salt marsh, and I don't know what year it was filled in, but it was filled in.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If you look at some of the old maps from the early 1900s, it was just nothing but a salt marsh.
No, I just wanted to get an idea, because somebody had asked me, and they get a little nervous, and I tell them, everything's working fine, the trash rack is cleaned, and when necessary, we make sure that gate is operating the way it should. Donnie, thank you very much.
We still only shut it during astronomical high tides, storm events, nor'easters, heavy rain events. We will shut it because it gives us some. We'll shut it during a low tide cycle, and it gives us some storage, some compensatory storage for runoff. But then as soon as that storm passes, we, put the gate back on automatic. We want that salt water, as much salt water up there as possible.
Donnie, thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome, Council Powers.
Okay, with that, we're coming to the end of our time. We have another meeting following this, and I want to thank everybody for their cooperation, their information, and hopefully we'll see you next month and get an update on a few more things. So with that, I say this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks.